Donna, can you angle your camera down a little bit? Is that possible?
Yep.
Too much. Right there.
Left, right.
Perfect. Good.
Lower, lower. No, too low.
How's this? How's this?
Yeah.
Higher. How's this?
That's so weird.
Oh, I was trying to think. Wes, you said you found a couple free versions of 3D CNC programs. One of them was like, was it Mesh Cam? Something that Mesh was in the name.
Maybe, but some of them had like hang-ups of not
Being totally free.
or having some sort of limitation.
Yeah.
Remind me about this after.
Okay.
That's why you're asking me for a show. That's cool. I finally just saw it, Wes.
Yeah.
For our, that is really cool. I almost think that making geeks with the what's that called? The broadcast colors.
Yeah,
I think that'd be a cool sticker.
that would be.
Might have to look into that. It's like a special edition episode 300 sticker.
Episode 300. What are we at now? 89?
83.
83. Samsonite. Oh, that's why the I just saw the overlay.
The reason I asked
That
is
is
we
cool.
have like a blank space and I had to fill it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Gravity Falls. That was fantastic choice.
I think it's one of the best animated shows ever. That's just my 2 cents, though.
Klonda. Klonka? That's a name I don't recognize. Evening.
Yep, evening. Have you been on the stream before? I think the name looks familiar, but I can't place where or who possibly is.
Yeah, it's not like you can't click on it to go to their profile kind of thing.
Speaking of which, really quick before we start, have you guys noticed in YouTube, I don't know if it's just mine, when you search for a channel or channel name, you know their logo usually comes up with the description of the channel, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I used to be able to click on that and it would take me to the channel's homepage, but it's not working for me right now. It's like it looks like it's broken. It's weird. I don't know if that's the result of the new handle thing.
Yeah.
I don't think I noticed that.
I just wonder if that's the same for everybody else as well. Try to figure out this other thing later. Okay. I think I'm ready when you find gentlemen are.
Hold on a sec. Can you hear all the giggling in the background?
Yes.
A little bit, but it's
Girls.
It's a lot better than the crying, so it's fine.
It is a lot better than crying.
I'd rather have
Everybody
giggles
can
as
hear
the
you.
background soundtrack.
I think they're moving upstairs. You need to get one of those sound curtains or sound blankets. It's just like find a way to like rig it up on the door, or not the door, but like the breezeway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think we're girls. Okay. I think we I think we're good. All right.
Let's do it. What's up, Internet? You're listening to the Making Geeks podcast, the podcast for makers, families, and geeks. I don't know what happened to my voice right there. I think some things started kind of like turning my mind as I'm trying to say this. But hello, welcome, greetings, good evening. How you guys doing?
Doing all right. Just
I'm good. I'm a dulcet baritone today, which is not common for me. If you don't recognize my voice.
Yeah, I forgot to tell you we have a special guest on the show tonight. It is bearded voice Donovan.
I was about to say the same thing.
Oh man, I forgot to put the beard on for the live. Yeah.
It would be kind of funny if our voices were directly connected to the facial hair that we had. And it'd be funny if it was like the inverse. So the bigger the beard you have, the higher your voice is.
Right.
That would be funny.
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas.
You ever have that experience where you see somebody and you have this kind of preconceived notion of how they're going to sound, and then they talk, I'm like, that's not how I thought you were going to sound at all.
Totally, yeah. I have the inverse thing happen to me. So Jordan, from the Patreon list, I play games with him a lot online, but we never really video conference. We always just audio conference. Mm-hmm. So I never actually knew what he looked like. So I generated, I generated a mental image of kind of like what I imagined him looking like. And when he came on the podcast, it was the first time I actually saw his face. And not that it was anything wrong with it, Jordan. It just caught me off guard. It was just kind of funny. Yeah. That's right.
You have an excellent face.
We love you as a patron.
The
Don't
idea
leave
he
us.
had in his head. Oh, that is fantastic.
So what have you guys been up to this week?
Oh, that's a good question. What have I been doing? My kids have had random days off this week, or partial days, for like teacher work days and other. They get a day off tomorrow for Veterans Day. Like, I don't even get a day off tomorrow for Veterans Day, which seems weird. If anything, I get a day on more than normal because they're at home. Not too much. Just been plugging along on some video stuff, but nothing worthy of mention. Went to Black Panther tonight for their early screening, on Thursday, which I rarely get to do anymore, but brought the whole family, so that was really fun. I don't know if they've ever been to an opening night thing. It was good. I was recommended. Definitely check it out. They did a good job. I had chills in one particular moment and started tearing up in another moment. So they got the heartstring pulling going on in that movie for sure.
I'm hoping to see it fairly quickly here.
Yeah. Definitely should. What do you been?
Is it as epic as the trailer was?
It feels, and this is not a bad thing at all. It feels less epic than previous Marvel movies, just from like the perspective of like over the top, like enormous, mass armies of faceless. You know what I mean? Of like CGI fest. Yeah, where you just get kind of exhausted just watching it, and it's just it felt more self-contained, which I like actually.
I want to ask kind of a really generalized question about it.
Yep.
Does it feel like they actually focused more on story as opposed to just spectacle?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes,
that's to the point where half of the people that I went with, my wife and my daughter, thought it was slow in parts, which just means there were story beats and they allowed for emotional pauses and like reflect. There's a lot of characters like pausing and like actually allowing stuff to sink in during kind of big moments and stuff, and they don't really gloss over stuff and move on quite as quickly as some other things in other franchises, which I liked. It was a nice, don't get me wrong, there are actiony stuff. There's actiony stuff in it. There's some car chase stuff, as you would expect from even the first Black Panther. It doesn't feel quite as
quippy.
quippy as the first Black Panther. Was the first one quippy?
No, just Marvel in general
Yeah,
is pretty quippy.
it feels less quippy than Marvel-y stuff. Yeah,
They're
it was
notorious for like even in serious scenes
good. I know.
when there's like weight or emotion to
Come-
like quip.
Coming off of Thor,
Love and
Love
Thunder.
and Thunder, yeah, it couldn't be more diametrically opposed, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, that is very good to hear because
Yeah.
one was over here. Hopefully, this one is.
Yeah, this is among the, at least in this current phase or whatever you call this one, like this and Spider-Man, are up there for me.
Really? In terms of like overall Marvel?
Yeah, it's back to form, I would say.
Are you talking Far From Home or just
Far From Home, yeah,
okay?
I quite enjoyed that. It's in my top probably 3, definitely top 5. For Marvel MCU stuff.
That would be an interesting conversation.
It would be. I was thinking
seeing
about
what
coming
your
home.
what your guys' listicles are for like
Different
Marvel, Star Wars.
things. Yeah, it's a great topic idea.
Well, my listicles are typically private, but
Yes.
but we-
Is
we've
the
known each
left
other
is the
long.
left one a little bit longer, or is the length of it changed throughout the year?
Weather,
or
the
what?
weather plays a part.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's getting colder here.
Sure.
The second I said it,
You have
It's
less
a little
time.
bit short of a listicle right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
glad my girls can't hear this right now. This-
We might have just lost some patrons.
oh my gosh.
Or gain some.
Or gained some.
Or get some.
Welcome to the podcast.
We welcome all. How about you, Donovan? What have you been up to?
I have been, if my voice isn't reflective of it, I have been knee deep in God of War. I've been working on the cabinet. I keep coming across these problems of not having the right tool for the job. And so my momentum of getting this cabinet finished, because I wanted to have it done by Wednesday when the game came out, or today when we record podcasts. But I keep hitting these little roadblocks where it's like, I don't have the right tool for the job for this. So I need to figure out how to do it the right way. And then I went to the midnight release. It's not a midnight release. It was like 11:01 because they don't, not like the before times when it used to be a big old party and they had, it was an event when a new game came out. This was a lot less. This was a lot more muted. But there was a release party for God of War, and I got the collector's edition, thinking that it would be, like the game and something fun, like most collector's editions are, whether it's like, a map or artwork or like the CD of the soundtrack, which honestly is most collector's editions.
It was a giant
This one-
box.
Absolutely. This thing is huge.
It's huge.
It's
I thought it was
yeah,
a console inside of it.
Is
I
it
know.
empty?
My wife saw it. She's like, "Did you buy a PS5?" I'm like, "No, I just bought a game." Because it literally looks like a PS5 box. It is ginormous, and it says PS5 on the top of it.
That's
But
why I
it's-
asked
it's-
you in that post.
Yeah, no, it's just, and it doesn't even have a disc. The little thing at the bottom says game disc not included.
See, I hate that. I absolutely hate that.
I didn't realize it was all digital. Like there's super cool stuff in there. I think
They could have offloaded so much of the time needed to download by doing that still. I hate that.
Yeah. But I've made a promise to myself not to open it until I get this cabinet done. So that's my motivation for getting this cabinet done, which is again back to hitting all these roadblocks. Like I get momentum in trying to finish this cabinet, hit a roadblock, and I'm like, all right, I gotta pull back the reins. I gotta figure out how to do this before I can get it done. The rest of the cabinet I've got all laid out and it's ready to go, so that once I figure out how to get past these current hurdles, I'll be able to get it done. And I am hoping that it is gonna look absolutely amazing. In my mind right now, it looks incredible. Now I just need to try and take that image of this project from my head and make it real. That's what I've been doing. What about you, Sean?
I released a new video today. It's the one that I had finished last week. I talked about it on the show last week that the laser company asked me to hold it for a week while they fixed some things on their website. I got to release it today. And it is my review of the Two Trees diode laser. And the video's doing fairly well compared to like my last couple when it releases. I don't know if I don't know how long that's going to sustain, but I'll enjoy it for the time being. It's surprising too because it was a 17-minute video, and I don't know how these reviews keep getting longer. It doesn't seem like I'm not intentionally making the video last longer, but I guess there's just so much to say because I've been doing so many different laser reviews that I have a lot of comparison. I guess more things to kind of say about the machine. So yeah, 17-minute video. And I'm halfway through my next video, which is a sponsored video for materials. Company contacted me to do a video for their tumblers that they have, all the different size tumblers and stuff that are really popular right now. They sent me a bunch that I get to engrave, and yeah, that one's about half done. And hopefully this weekend, because I have a 3-day weekend, I'll be finishing my son's bed frame finally. And it'll be nice to have a video that does not involve a blue laser that could blind me. So that's what I've been up to. I'm looking forward to a 3-day weekend because I need a little bit of a break. So today we are talking about something just kind of for fun. The three of us are on different parts of the country. We've all had, except for me because I haven't really moved that far from where I grew up. But I know that Donovan and Wes are a little bit more worldly in their experiences. And I was just thinking about different things and different sayings that are either relevant to where we grew up, culture, whatever, just they're kind of funny and interesting to kind of compare. And I'm also a little bit frustrated with this because I had a great idea and there's a reason for me coming up with this topic, which was about 2 weeks ago, but now I can't remember what it was. So hopefully through the course of our conversation, I'll remember what the origin of this was and like the sayings that I wanted to kind of bring up because I thought that were interesting for comparison. And this could go a lot of different ways. I mean, there's some that are societal, there's some that are cultural, there are some that are even just passed down in family. And just, I think they're kind of cool to hear.
A couple of them are naval terms that I used and learned in the Navy that you guys might not be aware of. It'd be fun to see what your guesses
I'm looking
are.
I'm looking forward to those. Yeah.
Then I have a little list of sayings that aren't really in much use anymore, and some of them are like more English or British in origin. So to figure out what they mean and their origins is kind of funny. So
I can start with one.
Let's do it.
My mom's side of the family has a little bit more of a rural type of a background and culture. They immigrated from France, moved to Southern California, and did farming for a long time. And a lot of the sayings or things they would say are almost like Depression era sayings. And my grandmother growing up would always tell us, don't live too high on the hog. Anytime that she thought we were spending money on things that we shouldn't spend on, or thought we were being frivolous, and we would say that. And I never understood it for a long time. And I think I looked up on it one time, and it just had to do with pork being kind of a rich type meat, or even expensive at one time. And I think it also, if you eat it in too great of a quantity, like causes some health problems like gout or stuff like that. So that's one that's been passed down to the family for a long time. And family always laughs when I turn around and say it to them when they start spending money that they probably shouldn't be spending. Your guys' turn.
Do you have one, Donovan?
Well, it's kind of funny. I live in Oklahoma, but I'm from Montana. I say I'm from Montana. It's been a couple of years since I've been there, but I grew up in Montana, and I was trying to think when we were talking about this. I'm like, is there any phrase like what would like a Montana phrase be? And I looked it up, and there are words and phrases you'll only understand if you're Montana. And I read through it, and I was like, hey, okay, yeah, I totally get that. So I want to ask you guys if you know what these things are. A creek.
Creek.
Yep. Creek is a creek. A ditch.
A ditch.
What's a ditch?
A valley. I don't know.
a little like on the side of the road, ditch on the.
Wait,
In Montana,
well, no. Obviously, that's what the answer. I thought it was more complicated than that.
Yeah, I
well,
said
in
a
Montana,
dish.
a ditch is a drink. It's like an alcoholic drink.
Oh, well, you didn't say that.
Wait,
Yeah. Oh, sorry. But I'm asking. It's like,
We know what the dictionary definition is. What's a Montana definition?
yeah.
a ditch
Rig.
is the thing on the side of a road that you get your car stuck in.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know also called a trench? Yeah.
Yeah. A rig in Montana. What do you think a rig is?
Truck.
Like a big truck.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
it's a big
everywhere.
truck.
This is not.
All right.
Exclusive. Nothing's exclusive to Montana yet.
Bunny hugger.
I'm not allowed to say.
I don't know that one. A hippie?
You don't know that one?
A leftist hippie? I don't know.
There's a story, kind of a funny story that goes along with this. But a bunny hugger is what Montanans call Californians. Because Montanans do not like Californians. And one of the reasons for that is that, like, I remember growing up, and in the valley where I grew up, there was only 2,000 people, like, total in the valley. Totally tiny. And there was this one summer, I was a sophomore in high school, where all of a sudden all this new development started popping up in our town. All these houses were being built, and we're like, what the heck is going on? They're like, well, all of these Californians have bought land in Montana because they're like, oh, land is cheap in Montana. And so, like, subdivision on subdivision all of a sudden just sprung up over the course of the spring and the summer. And at the end of the summer, all of these Californians moved into Montana. And all these people started opening businesses. They revitalized Main Street. They built a falls because the name of our town was Columbia Falls, but there was no like waterfalls. So they built like an artificial waterfall. So Columbia Falls had its own falls. I know. And everybody was super excited that there was all this like new life and whatnot in the valley. Well, that winter, after all of these Californians moved in, was like one of the coldest winters in Montana history. I think the cumulative total snowfall for that entire winter was like 25 feet. The average temperature was like 15 degrees below zero. It was awesome for me. But all the Californians were like, So when winter ended, they moved out. So all these houses started like becoming just empty. There was like empty houses, like unfinished developments. Businesses went under because all of a sudden there was no longer people. And man, people hated Californians from then on. And so
That's a good reason too.
Yeah. Bunny huggers. Okay. Rocky Mountain oysters.
Also called lamb fries.
Lamb fries.
Cow
That's
testicles.
another name for them.
Yeah, cow testicles. Which is, I mean,
I thought they were like a goat or lamb testicles.
I just know him as
lamb.
bull.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Cowboy up. What does it mean to cowboy up?
Cow testicle. You mean?
Huh?
Cowboy up. That's a pretty
Cowboy
common saying though.
Like
Is
man
it?
up?
Yeah,
Man
it
up?
is.
Yeah, man up. Okay. All right, that was my Montana sayings.
Hmm.
There you go.
I'll go in some Navy ones if you want.
Yeah.
What is a Cadillac?
Besides the car,
Mm-hmm.
It's probably-
obviously.
Sounds like something high end or expensive.
You would think so.
A smaller ship than yours.
Nope. And I use this term. I was confused for a while as to what the hell they were talking about. A Cadillac is a mop bucket, specifically with the four wheels on it that roll around. And they're usually silver or like aluminum colored. Like,
See, higher end as opposed to
Yeah.
when you just drag
Yeah.
without wheels.
Yep.
Okay.
And they usually have the squeezer thing built into it that you can like wring out the mop.
Yep.
There is swabbing going on in the Navy, believe it or not. What
Swab
else?
the deck,
Yeah. What's a head?
The toilet.
bathroom.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
How about a knee knocker?
I think I know. Shot?
I thought it was something when it's. I know it's more specific than this, but something hits your knee or something at a level that you run into.
It is, but it's a specific thing.
So
I don't-
a head knocker is the thing above the toilet, and would a knee knocker be the door because the toilet is so close to the door it hits your knees? Knee
No,
knocker?
no,
No.
no,
Is it your bed?
no.
Oh, okay.
What is a bed? What is
All
a
right.
bed called in the Navy though? That's a separate one.
Not a bunk. It's a.
Slab.
No,
When you say I know for the term, I just can't recall it.
a rack.
Yeah, rack.
Rack.
Because you've
'Cause
actually
they
said
like
it on the
fold
show
down,
before.
right?
Say
No, just
sorry?
like the racks.
Oh,
A knee knocker is the lower part of a passageway. There's a watertight doors in a hallway of a ship that they
Oh,
can
you
like
have to step over.
you have to step over, and a lot of people forget, or especially like drunken sailors, they'll like mash their shins on it. They're called knee knockers. What else we got? Trying to remember. How about scuttlebutt?
It's a fight, right?
There are two. No. Scuttlebutt is well. I don't think so.
Or an argument or a fight or.
No.
so down here in Oklahoma,
There's two
scuttlebutt is a
sayings.
term of endearment
it?
that women call men.
No,
Scuttlebutt.
I
Yeah.
thought it was like a name for like a conflict or something at some point.
Now, that may be the non-naval term. I
okay.
think that's correct. But in the
Okay.
Navy, it's specifically one of two things, and they're related to each other.
Somewhat a new recruit.
No, scuttlebutt is a water fountain or a rumor. And because
And those things are related to each
they're
other.
related because people used to gather around like the water cooler talk and share gossip and rumors.
It's a tangentially related.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I got some more.
Do-
but
do-
we'll yeah.
Oh,
Good.
Okay, but the scuttlebutt one, do you actually know the origin of that or where that came from? Because I think that's even more interesting in some of these stories sometimes.
I can look it up when it's someone else's turn. And I'll get back to you.
Oh, okay. I was just curious though, just
I don't.
because it seems like such a random
It's weird.
word applied to that.
Yeah, just like the next one, dunk. Do you know what dunk is?
No idea. I can't even guess on that one.
It's
Gee
one,
dunk.
it's one of two things, and they're also related.
Tangentially related.
Yes.
Gee dunk. Gee dunk.
And I can use it in a
Is
sentence.
it a sound?
Go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Can you go down there and get me some dunk, or can you go to the dunk and get me some dunk?
Food?
The mess hall? Yeah.
No, it's it's like junk food. Junk food is dunk, but also the place that they sell it, there's like a ship store, and they call it the dunk. It's like the place where it's like a equivalent of a convenience store, kind of like junk. So like like convenience stores, like your gas station kind of offerings. That's what they have like in a ship store. They have like Pop-Tarts and just like
So is that a term that you actually used in
Yeah.
the Navy?
yeah.
So I'm
Why keep
forgot.
those weird sayings going? Yeah.
no. I'm convinced that all these things are completely made up by the drunk sailors. They could not correctly pronounce whatever it was they were trying to pronounce.
Gee dunk. And then somebody made fun of them for it, and then it just stuck. Gee dunk.
Let's see. I got the actual history.navy.mil. So dunk refers to ice cream, candy, potato chips, other snack foods, as well as the place on the ship where the items are sold. It is first published usage in a non-naval context is 1927 comic strip, which refers to dunk sundaes, ice cream sundaes, and then it was mentioned later on in the early 40s. They're not really sure where the origin is. It's been suggested that it derives from a Chinese word referring to a place of idleness, or a German word meaning to dunk bread in gravy or coffee, which is interesting. Yes, someone else go. I'll come back to me.
Sounds like somebody's ravaging a kitchen right now.
It does.
I know, apparently.
Get out of
That's
the
why I had
gee-dunk.
to mute.
Come on.
I'm sorry. Get out of the gee dunk. Yeah. Grab your gee dunk and get. So, sayings in my, specifically in my family, we talked about this. Part part of our national heritage is Italian. I'm part of our, I'm part of our side of the family, and so I never knew outside of my family that the rest of the world calls it basil. Because growing up, and for the longest time, we always called it basil. Always basil. When my wife and I first started dating, and I would constantly cook for her, I would ask for the basil, and she would laugh at me. She's like, "Do you mean the basil?" And I was like, "No, because there's an S in it." Because I didn't realize that like everybody else is basil. It still sounds so weird in my head saying basil. Because it sounds like it made up like somebody mispronouncing basil. Basil. So yeah. That's a saying, I guess more specifically to me and my current family, but yeah, definitely growing up, everything is, basil.
That happens in a lot of different
Basil.
instances where you
Basil.
have words that actually have a specific pronunciation based on their country of origin. But a lot of times when, especially in the United States, there's a new pronunciation adapted for it. So you're just sensitive to that one because your family kept the original pronunciation as opposed to everything else that the American language and lexicon is kind of changed. It happens a lot in Southern California because so much has a Spanish origin, but a lot of people don't say it the Spanish way. And some people kind of still get up in arms about it. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah. Americans, man, we don't care. We go to a country, it's like, what is the name of this country? Deutschland. Germany? No, Deutschland. We're gonna call you Germany. It's like and it's no, it's not Germany, it's Deutschland, but for some odd reason we call it something that it's not, just because Americans. Basil.
But a lot of other countries have a different name for Germany too. They don't call it Deutschland.
But I mean, that's what they call themselves. I was like, why don't we call it that?
No, we don't care about that.
I know. The same thing happens in Chinese. Like, it's like, oh man, Americans mispronounce Chinese stuff all the time. Just because, I mean, there's sounds and there's words that we don't have in our language. That's a lot more
understandable, though.
Yeah, but like the thing is, even when people mispronounce stuff in Chinese, the Chinese people won't correct them. It's like, what's the name of this city? Beiping. You mean Peking? No, the name of the city is Beiping, but here in America we call it Peking because they like nobody corrected this. Oh, sure, yeah, that's what they call it.
No, it's more than that because whenever you see it written out, it starts with a P. So of course they're going to pronounce it with a P.
I know, but that's not how it's pronounced.
If they wanted it pronounced
with a B.
No, if they wanted it pronounced correctly, they should have spelled it with a B.
They should have spelled it in the
That's their fault.
That is a deep conversation right there. They should have spelled it with a P if they didn't want it.
No, that's the same kind of ignorance that gets us into trouble to begin with. So here's an old saying that my grandfather used to say all the time. Usually we were playing cards. Goose egg. When something comes up, goose egg.
Goose egg. Okay, the only goose egg I know is when you get hit super hard on the head and it bumps out because of all the blood and you got a goose egg. So it's not that.
No.
But is it tangentially related to that? Like it's a blunder? Like you did something wrong?
If you want to stretch that way, you could actually make a correlation, but that's not the intention.
Okay, I'm curious. Can you use it in a sentence?
They came up goose egg.
The situation was completely opposite from what was expected.
No, it's
thought you had a chicken egg and it turned out to be a goose egg.
Think about it in terms of competition. In competition, what would it possibly be?
2 zeros. Nobody scored.
There you go. 0.
Really?
Well, yeah, because a goose egg looks like a 0.
Oh.
So it came up goose egg. No score. Okay. They failed. Whatever. Something like that.
I like it.
You guys have a difference?
So I had a friend whose mom like didn't cuss, but she had her own way of cussing without cussing, and the biggest one was like fun.
Just cussing.
Like fun.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, I'm gonna go do this. Like fun, you will. Like fun. Said like fun all the time.
That's still cussing.
Really? That's still cussing.
It is. The intention matters more than the actual word.
Like fun. I don't know if I've ever heard anybody else use that particular expression, like fun, but it is like in my own head, it is permanently etched there. Like fun, you will. What? Like fun. Wes, what you got?
Do you want to do some more Navy stuff or non-Navy stuff?
I like the Navy stuff.
All right. What is a shellback?
A shellback. A
Is that a-
raincoat.
No, it refers to a type of person.
I was gonna say it refers to a person. I don't know what person though. Something that wears a hard shell on their back. Who would that be in the Navy though?
Nope.
Is it a gunner? No, not a gunner.
I almost became a shellback.
Is it a position or a person?
Is it somebody that picks up the shells off the ground after the gun's fired?
No, it's a status. You earn the title of shellback after a certain thing occurs. No.
After you've gotten
It's
wounded.
not somebody that goes in the water after somebody.
No. And it's a big deal in the Navy. It's a big deal. They used to, like the Navy has a history of getting in trouble for hazing, like a lot of service members used to. And a lot of it got like nipped in the bud before I got in. Like they had like lawsuits and stuff over some of this stuff.
I remember when those were happening.
Yeah. But a shellback is a sailor. They earn the title of a shellback by crossing the equator on a ship. It's just
what is the shell in that equation? I mean,
I don't know where the origin came from. A lot of these are like
you went to an island, you pick up a seashell, and you brought it back, and that's a shellback.
Before you're a shellback, you're a polywog.
So it sounds that actually sounds like it's an evolution type thing of travel.
Right.
And at some point, an animal that gets a shell is older and more experienced.
Perhaps.
But that means that at any one point, if a ship crosses the equator, everybody on that ship becomes a shellback, though, right?
Hardcore sailors would say no because there's like a ceremony. There's like a whole thing. Like because crossing the equator nowadays isn't as common as it used to be. So when that happens, like it's kind of a rare occurrence. So it's almost like a status or like a demonstration of like experience, or like typically if you're a shellback, you've done like had a lot of time at sea, where in that kind of thing. And so there's things that they make you do to like earn the title of shellback. There's like they used to be hazing, like they would like hit you with fire hoses and crap and like really nasty stuff.
So there's actually more than just crossing equator.
Yeah,
it's actually, yeah. Okay.
But in a simplistic style.
I get it.
Yeah.
I missed out on a lot.
Yeah.
What year did you go in?
98.
See, if I had gotten in, I would have been in
Before
3
me.
years before you. Mm-hmm. 3 years earlier. Yeah.
So I looked up the scuttlebutt thing, and to scuttle something means to cut a hole in either the bottom or the side of a ship to like kind of dispose of it, to like ruin it. And a scuttlebutt is a hole in a cask basically that stores. It's like a barrel that stored drinking water on like a ship, like for a long voyage. And so a scuttlebutt is a hole in that thing so that you can get drinking water out of it. That's basically.
Words are so funny.
And they just carried that tradition through to a water fountain, since that's the main source of the water on a ship. for drinking water. So it's interesting. And the Navy is like very rooted in like tradition and like a ton of stuff, like in the lexicon and the like, and also like uniforms have a lot of tradition to them, and just the things that they do and stuff that you do in boot camp and all kinds of different things. So they're super into tradition over there in the Navy. um, what else do I have that's interesting? I'm trying to remember some off the top of my head. A bulkhead, most people know that just from being on airplanes and stuff.
All right, what about non-Navy?
Non-Navy, okay. So these
Hit us
are
up.
a couple sayings that aren't as popular anymore. So we've got, let's see, pearls before swine. And that's actually related to a possible topic that we were going to have tonight, but we chose not to.
'Cause I'm trying to when was the last time I heard that? I know it means that you don't give pearls to swine because they eat the good stuff with the bad stuff. They consume everything, regardless if it's like garbage or pearls. So you don't cast pearls before swine because they just needlessly consume
That's
it,
not
right?
what I thought that's not what I thought it meant.
Right?
It's maybe close, but maybe not. Sean?
It sounded more like a commentary about value of how you
somewhat.
make some choices.
So the meaning, apparently it comes from the Bible. I didn't know that originally. It means that you're wasting your time by offering something that's helpful or valuable to someone else who does not appreciate it.
Okay.
I'm laughing because of our pre-show commentary that is
Yes.
not available for the public, but yeah.
I honestly cannot remember the last time I heard somebody use that phrase.
I can't say I've ever heard it personally. How about nail your colors to the mast? What does that mean?
I've heard it, and I assumed it was a naval term for when you raise a flag,
It is a naval term.
like for intention.
Very close.
Like
I'm not sure if
solidifying your values and morals and ideals so that everybody can see them.
Yeah, declaring your beliefs firmly and openly. Yep. The origin of this actually dates back to the 17th century when they used to use nautical battle colors or flags. They were lowered
That's what I was referring to.
as a mark
Yeah.
of submission, and also relating to naval warfare when they directed cannons to knock the mast down to prevent them from like signaling things. Yeah, and if all the masts are broken, the captain usually surrenders, which is kind of interesting.
Can't really do much with the boat at that point.
Nope.
I have one really quick.
Yeah, let's do it.
Probably a little bit more common, I'm assuming, but I remember hearing it a lot growing up. Long in the tooth.
Long in the tooth.
I have heard that. I don't know if I've used it.
No, it's not as
Somebody
common as I
that
thought it
talks too much?
It means like you're overstaying your welcome.
was. I guess you could, but it's really commentary about age, about being
right.
old.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Long in the tooth.
So it goes back to, I guess, South Dakota when a prospective buyer was trying to judge the age of a horse. The horse's teeth keep growing through their lives, so they would grind down their teeth to prevent showing that.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
How about a flash in the pan?
I've heard that a lot growing up.
What does it come from?
I don't know where it comes from, although you could probably take some guesses.
What does it mean, Donovan? Do you know?
Flash in the pan.
Mhm.
You added too much of something you shouldn't have, and you could.
No.
No?
No, this one I've heard of. I don't know if I've used it, but I'm familiar with this one.
Yeah, something that's happened really quickly.
Yeah, it's something with sudden and brief success that's not repeatable. The phrase originates sometime during the late 17th century when flintlock muskets were used. In an attempt to fire the musket, it results in the gunpowder flaring up but no ball firing. It's referred to as a flash in the pan. Nothing else?
How about
Sorry, I was on mute. I was like, yeah. Okay, I totally get that now.
how about to peter out?
It's they run out of gas.
Yep.
Yeah.
Energy.
I was like to lose energy, but I'm like, where would that have come from? Peter out.
It comes from saltpeter, gunpowder,
So back to guns.
to dwindle down to nothing.
Interesting. Yeah, that's one thing about like English sayings is that they're idioms. So there's like a story behind them.
Right.
And in Chinese, like they study idioms in school and in books and things like that because in order to understand the idiom, you have to understand the story, where the idiom comes from, to understand the context of when to use the idiom. So idioms are like really important in the Chinese language. And while I was over there and learning about idioms and things like that, I'm like, man, in English, we don't know the story behind anything. Like we use phrases and idioms and sayings all the time, but we don't know.
You'd never stop reading.
Yeah, we don't know what they like, where they came from or what they mean. We just know the context in which to use them. I was like, man, that it would be interesting to come back. My lofty goal back then is like, I want to come back and I want to learn all these interesting stories behind these idioms we use all the time, but don't know where they come from.
You want to look up an interesting one? Look up "son of a gun."
Son of a gun.
Son of
Okay.
a gun.
How about a storm in a teacup?
I don't think I've heard that before.
I like this one. I want to start using this one somehow, but
Overly alcoholic drink?
nope.
No.
A teacup would probably be something fragile. The storm is something violent.
Storm in a teacup.
I'm assuming it's metaphorical.
Is it the same tangentially related to making a mountain out of a molehill where you're trying to like
kind of
make something out of something
Yeah.
big out of something little?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great outrage or excitement over something that's trivial. Yeah.
See,
Storm in a teacup.
my version of that I like is making a chicken out of a feather.
That's pretty good.
I got that from Overwatch.
The
One of the
the basic
characters says it in the game.
Yeah.
the basic sentiment of it, it's a tempest in a teapot is another one. I've heard of that one before.
I think I've heard that one.
Storm in a teacup originates in 52 BC
Wow.
in the writings of Cicero, in a phrase that translates as stirring up billows in a ladle, which is interesting.
Cool.
Any other ones?
I don't think, I still wasn't able to remember that original one that set this in motion. And it's frustrating because I think that one was the most interesting that I had to talk about. Because everything else I remember is all the weird sayings that my dad said growing up, but they were all taken from comedy.
Like what?
Actually, it's kind of crude, but I'll say it anyways. Whenever I'd go out with friends, like in high school, they said, "Well, don't do anything. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, and if you do, don't name it after me." That's my
I
dad.
didn't think about that one for a second.
Yeah, that was my upbringing. It probably says a lot about me.
What does it mean if I say I need to see a man about a dog?
Usually, you have to go to the bathroom,
That's right. That's absolutely
You
right.
go poop.
just to the restroom.
Isn't any phrase where it's like see something about a something meaning go to the bathroom?
Yep.
Apparently, this may be the origin of it. It originated in a play in 1866. where a character knowingly breezes past a difficult situation saying, "Excuse me, Mr. Quail, I can't stop. I've got to see a man about a dog." It's kind of interesting.
Now that I've traveled around a little bit, just mainly because of all the maker stuff, it's always fun hearing how things are said in different parts of the country, whether it's like soda versus pop. But the one I still think is interesting is about the freeway system. So here on the West Coast, we always say "the" before the freeway number or name. Like on the East Coast, it's just you just say the number.
Can you use it in a sentence?
So for the local freeways around me, I'd say I'll take the 10 to the 57 to the
Oh,
to
right.
the 5.
It's like the old SNL skit.
Oh,
Oh,
the Californians.
On the East Coast is like
I never
the 10
got
to the
that. I
2
never
to
really
the-
understood what the hell they
40.
were doing. Like, I understood there were roads, but I never got the joke, really.
I don't think it's a joke. It's a weird distinction about how we talk about the roads around us. I don't know why.
Huh.
Maybe actually I don't know why. It's a interesting difference in how we talk about our environment.
yeah, we don't say "the" in Oklahoma. It's like you take 75 to 44 to 169 to 46th Street, and you're there.
Huh. Interesting.
See, for me, it's like
The-
why do you say the.
The 75 to the 44 to the 169.
I guess we consider our freeways to have personalities because how weird our traffic is here. So we need that article "the" to distinguish.
Because you spend so much time with them?
Yep.
Just sitting there? Yeah.
We are very well acquainted.
Interesting.
I have my own lane on the 10 freeway. The one and only 10 freeway.
Huh.
That's interesting. I'm trying to think of any others. I mean, there's
hundreds of sayings. You could go through a lot.
yeah, but like specific to
right,
like specific to me. I mean, there's little sayings, mannerisms that like my wife and I have that like it only makes sense to us, and it's a large part of it is a way to like flirt with each other in front of our children without our children picking up on it till they get older, at least anyway. But I'm trying to think if there's anything like outside of that.
my son's 13. There's nothing that he doesn't kind of like put two and two together anymore. So
Really?
all the euphemisms that we used to be able to use, it's not a secret anymore.
It was so funny. Like we were, I was trying to replace her headlights because the bulbs burnt out on the headlights. And I was like, "Can you pop your head? I need to look under your hood." She's like, "You want to look under this hood, huh?" And we both started laughing. And I'm like, one of these days our kids are going to pick up on this. And they're just going to be like, "Gross."
This show is not rated E for everyone anymore.
You're muted, Wes. I can't hear what you're saying. It's probably profound or funny or both.
Or profane. I was going to say, I don't want to hear anything about your
Ideally.
dipstick. Yeah.
You're the king of the comebacks, man. I swear. We can have any conversation, throw something in, and it's like a jolt of what? Oh my gosh.
I usually have to
I tend
filter
to
a
hold
lot
back
of
on
those
a lot
out.
of things I want to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think that's the kinship Sean and I share.
You know what we shouldn't hold back on?
Thanking our patrons at patreon.com/makinggeeks for helping us keep the show on the air with their contributions every time we release an episode of this fine podcast. And we always want to thank our top patrons, Jordan, Nolan, Square Splinter, and Clinton. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. What are you guys geeking out about this week?
I've got a channel recommendation. So there's a channel called Letters Live. Have you heard of this?
Uh-uh.
It was started by Benedict Cumberbatch's production company. So he's like in a lot of these. And they're basically celebrating the art of correspondence, which is kind of weird. A lot of them are like letters from to and from like a famous person or a person of note, and they can be old, they could be like from someone's memoir, or the origin of them, like how they come upon them, is not really explained. It's just they go to a podium, and it's usually a famous person nowadays that's like reading the letter, and they're usually pretty short. They're like 2 to 10 minutes long, and they're some of them are really funny, some of them are kind of profound, some of them are just like thought provoking. There's one that is the most popular video, which I recommend listening to, but it's not safe for work, and it's Benedict Cumberbatch, and it's called Do. It's a letter
DUE.
DO, like do
Okay.
something basically, and it's a letter correspondence between two artists in the early 20th century, where one was they used to write each other back and forth, and saying like one came into like a writer's block or artist block, and they couldn't like get past it, and so they were looking for advice, and so it's like the response to that, and a lot of it's very applicable to us as creators. At least I found it applicable to myself. So if you like making things and you want to get some motivation, check out Letters Live, and check out the most popular video by Benedict Cumberbatch, and it's titled Do, D-O. It's good.
Very cool. I'm geeking out about a movie that came out on Netflix, I think it was last week. And it's a sequel, which is Enola Holmes 2.
Oh, we want to check that out, yeah.
Yeah.
Dang it. Yeah.
So if anybody out there has not heard of it, Enola Holmes is I think it started as a book series that has to do with Sherlock Holmes's younger sister, which I don't know if is canon to the original Arthur Conan Doyle, which Wes and Don were both saying no. I didn't think so, but I kind of like this interesting addendum to the Sherlock kind of legend in a way. Enola Holmes is younger sister and is a pretty how would you put? She's a detective and pretty profoundly in her own right. And the movie is really good. So Millie Bobby Brown plays Enola Holmes. Henry Cavill plays Sherlock, and the sequel is, in some ways, I think is even better than the original. In some ways, and first of all, the film is, I think it's great. I don't feel at any time that it's just a story about a little girl. It is a very real world, and I think it's a very good depiction of life during that time in the Industrial Revolution, so like early 1800s, somewhere in there, I'm assuming. But I like it even more because I think that superhero movies kind of have, I kind of feel the fatigue a little bit, and I've really been looking forward to just really good stories being told, and I think this really does that. Not only that, but my daughter ends up loving it, and I think that's a pretty big win. Like I said, it's good. I enjoyed it. If you have family, or even just, it actually doesn't even matter if you have family or not. I think it's a good viewing, so I recommend that.
Very cool.
You know what? I cannot remember the name of the movie. My son and I went on a father-son camp out, and before we left, I downloaded 2 movies off Netflix. One was Wendell and Wild, Henry Selick's new stop-motion animated movie that he did, partnered with Key and Peele.
Henry Selick was
Michael
the
P.
director of Nightmare Before Christmas, right?
Yeah, Nightmare Before Christmas, Coraline, like all of those stop motion, animated ones. And there was another one that I downloaded that it's an animated movie. It's very much in the style of like Into the Spider-Verse and the Mitchells. It's about these little redheaded kids that are trying to orphan themselves by sending their family on this super dangerous trip because their parents are awful.
Oh yeah, what's that called? I don't
What
know
is it? What is it called? It's the something. I can't remember what it's called. But him and I watched it, and it was so funny. and it was so good. I'm like, this movie is amazing. It's so amazing. I can't remember the name of it, but it was fantastic. I was like, this is one of the best animated movies. Like, it's not up there with like
How about the Willoughbys?
The Willoughbys. Yes, fantastic movie. I loved it. My son loved it. I'm like, more people need to see this because this is good. It's funny. Speaking of Key and Peele, I think both of them voice a character in it, and it's good. The pacing is good. The comedy is just hilarious. I love movies like The Willoughbys because it inspires me to want to make something as imaginative and as whimsical and as fun as that, because it's like one of my goals as like a content creator is to create something that when somebody else watches, they get the same feeling that I get when I watch something like The Willoughbys. And so it's on Netflix. I think it's still on Netflix. Supposedly it's like brand new, but it's called The Willoughbys, and it is great. Totally geeking out about it.
Cool. So where can people find more out about us?
Oh yeah, totally. Totally dropping the ball on that. We're all on social media, which if you're a regular here, you already know that. If you're a first time you're here, welcome. We would love to know how you found us. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, please do us a favor. Come find us on social media. You can find Sean over at Geek Builders. You can find Wes at Geek Smithing. You can find myself at Once Upon a Workbench. Those are for all the platforms that we're on. And tell us how you found this show, because I would love to hear how a not longtime listener found the show, especially right now as we're coming up on episode 300. Like, how's the word getting out about the Making Geeks podcast? So please come find us on social media and tell us.
And if you have any suggestions for the show, whether it's topics or ideas or anything in general, you could go ahead and send us a message through our website, makegeeks.com. We have a contact page that will allow you to put in those messages there. You can also listen to all of our past episodes right there on the homepage of the site. And we also have a store featuring some Making Geeks themed merchandise for you to pick up and possibly bring into your home or put on your body. So, if you want to be part of the live show, we record every Thursday evening. Lost my train of thought. We record every Thursday evening on YouTube, and we record at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central, and 6:30 Pacific. We usually have a pretty good bunch of people in there talking, commenting during the show, and always adds a little bit of something extra while we're here recording and making it so that there's actually almost like a live audience just talking out into the ether, like we spent many years doing before we started the YouTube Live. And you can find new episodes of the podcast every Saturday morning on your favorite podcast player of choice. So once again, thanks everybody for listening, and have a great week.
See ya.
See ya.
Take care.